All right. Hey, hey, hey. We are so excited jumping in live today. I have an amazing treat for you all today. I have the fabulous Stephanie Euler coming to us from the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program. So if we have not met yet, allow me to just first say a quick hello. This is Susan Gaddy. I am a training strategist and I help experts just like you to take your information and turn it into transformational training experiences that get your clients gigantic results, because it's results that sell, right? People don't necessarily need your information, right? They can get that through YouTube, through videos, through audios, but what they can't get is into transformation without better connection to you and without real added value in your programs. And let me tell you, nobody does value better than the team at Unstoppable Entrepreneur. I know this firsthand because what's that saying? I'm not just a member, I'm not just a believer, like I'm actually in the program. I've been in this program for almost 2 years. It has had massive impact and value in my program, how I show up in the world, the income. They're probably one of the best business incubators out there, and they know how to create programs that add value. And we are blessed beyond belief to have Stephanie with us today. She's going to introduce herself and tell you about her story through the Unstoppable Entrepreneur. But what she's really going to provide us with today is really high value, quality information about how you can continue to bring your value into the world, to make connections and to grow your business. So Stephanie, I'm going to pull myself out of the stream. I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah.
And enjoy the session, everyone.
Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. And number one, thank you for popping on, and nice to meet you, number two. So as Sue said, my name is Stephanie Euler. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at the Unstoppable Entrepreneur. And my claim to fame, the story I always tell, is that I was employee number one in the company. So about six and a half-ish years ago, a colleague of mine had reached out to me. I was working in nonprofits. I was doing event planning. I loved marketing, but I was in a world where it was a lot of traditional marketing and social media. This bubble was kind of coming up. There was a lot of new rollouts, new platforms were coming out. And I remember being so intrigued and excited about it, and being in a role where we didn't really have the capacity or the bandwidth to explore it. So long story short is I was already kind of considering, like, what's my next move? What does this look like? And a colleague of mine had reached out and said, hey, I don't know if you're looking for anything, but I just did this work with this woman, Khaïry Varre. She's doing business consulting. I think you guys would hit it off. So again, it was kind of like a leap of faith. I thought, I'm just going to have the conversation, and see where that goes. And that was really the start of an awesome partnership and really the trajectory of my career, really following the online space. And the reason I tell you that story, number one, is because our CEO, Khaïry Varre, came from a corporate background. She was the youngest senior vice president in history in her organization. She was promoted 7 times in 8 years. Like, she came in with a lot of business acumen and was just so happening to start this new thing. So what was really interesting about this, and again, why I preface our training today with this story, is because as we really continued to build things out over the last couple of years, we noticed in the online space that a lot of really good business foundations and principles tended to almost get diluted, right? So what happened was we were losing a lot of really good foundations of business that have stood the test of time forever, right? In favor of kind of shiny trends, tactics, like chasing the newest thing. And I think a lot of, I'll say, words or phrases, right, in business kind of lost the potency of their meaning. And one of those big things is this whole idea of adding value. Right. And I'm sure all of us have been through like the webinars, the everything else, where it's like, just get in there and add value. And you're like, okay, how do I do that? Right. Like, somebody actually tell me what that means, because there's about 18,000 things you can do online at any given time. So the really cool thing, and the reason that I'm here to speak with you about this today, is I always say I am the boring business coach. That's kind of my not funny joke, because I really want to bring us back to what are the foundations, what are the timeless strategies, and how do we make those work in the online space so you can build a sustainable business, a scalable business, and really get the success, the authority, the credibility, and the revenue that I know every single entrepreneur wants and quite frankly deserves. So we're here to talk about value. I want to approach this from both the external, meaning the market-facing side, and the internal, meaning the service delivery side. And Sue, of course, is the absolute expert in terms of building out programs that increase your retention. It makes clients want to refer you. It really solidifies you as the number one space in the industry. Let's bring all of these worlds together. Okay, so there's three core concepts that I want to walk you through here today. And again, you might be starting up a business, you might be at 8 figures, whatever. This is always the audit I want you to do. And this is timely for the time of year we're in because many people are making decisions about the trajectory of their business, what they're going to do in the online space moving forward, and how we can bring all of these things together. So core concept number one, when we really define this whole value conversation and how you can add value, your core differentiator, is a concept that we like to call sell to the gap. So I'm going to take you all the way back to those early conversations in your business where you learned about ideal client avatars, you learned about niching, right? And I want to kind of add a layer to that because one of the core things that we see happen time and time again in the online space that actually keeps people from reaching their full potential in their sales and marketing is they focus so much on the who that they don't focus on the what or the way. Let me say that again. They focus so much on the who that they forget the what and they forget the way. And by way, I mean the process, the system, the steps, whatever you want to call it. So what I want you to think about is what is the gap in your industry? And for those of you like myself, like Sue, that are not only in the space, but consumers of the space, you have probably been the person who's, quote, done all the things. We see this in business. They've taken every program. They've done every course, right? We see this in health and fitness. They've tried all the diets. They've tried all the fancy fitness apps. Your market, right? Your best of the best prospects and buyers will be habitual buyers, meaning they've bought these things before. They've invested in these services. They have, again, done all of the things. And typically in every industry, there is a way things are done. There is a belief system in the way things are done. And there's kind of a standard process. And for you, you likely got into your business because you thought, we need to think about this a different way. We need to do this better. This of my expertise is going to make people get better and bigger results. And your people are going through and doing all of the things, and they're still at point A, right? They may have made some progress on their goal, but maybe they didn't get all the way there. Or maybe they've never overexceeded from their goal because there's a gap in the industry, right? And I'll tell you a couple stories to kind of frame this up, right? We're in the business coaching space. So even when I started in this company, and trust me, because we always say, we have done all the things because we have, right? We did all the courses. We did all the popular programs. We got into all the portals. We were this little baby startup that was just trying to get some wind beneath our sails. And we had really good experiences in that. And we had really not so good experiences in that. And again, that's not to anybody's fault, but it is the fact that there's a huge gap. We found in our experience that we were signing up for courses where info was outdated, right? I remember I took a Facebook ads course and I got into the portal and the whole ads manager in their videos, it was set up a completely different way, but they never really went in and updated it. So we ended up buying a program that we couldn't use. And when we reached out for support, there wasn't a human on the other end. So we noticed again, timeless trainings coupled with updated trainings. So everybody knew what's the foundation and what do you need to know right now. And having human connection, somebody to support you through implementation, answer your questions, right? Things that I will say, they seem so simple, but they were missing. And we were growing a podcast. We were talking with other business owners and we kept hearing the same thing. People kept saying, the automated course, the info is great, but I don't know what to do with it. I reached out, to customer support and I heard back a week later and it was an automated message. I posted in the Facebook group and all I got was a string of people that were following. And we kept seeing that come up. That was a huge gap in the market. So for us, when we say, okay, we want you to sell to the gap, when we were pitching our programs, we were talking about the fact that we do update them regularly, that we do have a full-blown internal staff to answer questions. Folks are paired with coaches and success teams, right? And that took off completely. So that's one example. That's on the business side, right? I coached with a woman, her name is Angela, for years and years and years. She's still actually in our community, but she owns a weight loss clinic. And she has seen so many people where, again, she works with typically like women in their 40s. They want to lose about 40 pounds. And these women were coming to her after trying every weight loss thing, every magic shake, right? Every type of fitness routine, but they weren't able to bring all of the pieces together. There was also nobody really marketing to those women, right? Everybody wanted to go after the 20-somethings that wanted to run on the beach, and that's great. Nobody's good, bad, right, or wrong. But she found a gap in the way that people were being served and also who was being served, who really needed that help. So I want you to think about that for you. And again, these gaps in your industry, they can be around belief systems, right? I'll give you an example of that here in just a second. They could be processes, and it could be service delivery, right? And I really want you to think through that, because here's the thing. You've been through this. If you're a consumer of your space and you've, quote, done all the things, you've probably lived through a gap, or you felt like you needed something else, right? You probably woke up one day and thought, you know what? This could be done in a much better way. Let's explore that, okay? I want to give you a brief example as well as what I say when there's maybe like a commonly held belief that maybe is outdated or doesn't work for some people or whatever, right? I follow a woman from years and years ago. She is in kind of like the foodie fitness space, and her conviction, right, and the way she teaches her content and the way she sells to the gap is she actually kind of goes against a lot of like low fat diets, low calorie diets. When keto was a big thing, right? She was constantly kind of speaking against that. And here's the thing. It's not in a way that says all of this is wrong or bad. It's you showcasing for people there can be a better way. Maybe that better way is going to actually work better for you. And yes, everything is still possible, right? So what was she teaching? She was talking about the importance of carbs for women. She was saying, hey, if you don't want to do high intensity workouts because it's wrecking your hormones, don't do that. And so that was her messaging. That was her gap. She was saying everybody is being served in the exact same way. It feels like there's a one size fits all in the industry. That wasn't my experience. And I've talked to a number of people where that wasn't their experience either. There's a better way. And there's a different belief system that we need to infuse into this industry that's going to actually get people better results, right? So let's zoom back out, because specifically with this concept, I said the big miss is people focus on the who. They don't focus on the what or the way. And again, the way is the process. The way is the system. The way is the service delivery, whatever. What happens is so many entrepreneurs go after the ideal avatar and they spend hours, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, we do see it, building out this ideal avatar profile. And they get so in the weeds of finding that perfect person that they actually cut out so much of the market that actually needs the transformation they provide. So how do you make that shift? In your marketing, it's all about selling to the gap, right? And this is really going to come through in a couple different ways. So again, let's place this to the side. Core concept number one, let's sell to the gap, okay? Core concept number two, when it comes to adding value, I want you to keep focusing on the end result. Why do people buy into programs? Why do they get great results in programs? They see the path. They're so clear on the goal that it's easier for them to understand the steps to get there. All right. And I mentioned I want to speak with you about kind of the external front-facing side and the internal side. So think sales, marketing, service delivery, right? When you focus on the end result in your front-end marketing, you're going to be able to grab a number of people who are all looking for that thing, right? That's what your business is. Your business is selling to that gap and filling that gap for people. So you want to constantly be going out and telling that story, right? And really sharing the transformation, the end result that your people get, because that's what your go-getters, your best of the best clients who are invested, they do the work, they put in the reps, right? That's what they're looking for. They don't care if you go out and you say, okay, I work with women between the ages of 40 and 52, and they have 3 kids and they live in suburbia and husband does X, Y, and Z. Like, that doesn't capture them when they're scrolling through on social media. But what will capture them are demonstrated results of that end result, right? So let's go back to Angela, right? She's showing case studies and talking about not only the weight loss, but the way their life has changed, right? And I want you to note that it's the goal. Yes, maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's making money in the business, right? Whatever the thing is. And it's how their life has changed. That is the end result, those two things. So many people put up posts right? They go through and they go all through the checklist. They're like, I'm basically read my sales page. And they go through all the features and all the benefits and they slap price tags on every single part of them. But then they feel like there's a disconnect because they might be getting traffic, right? Or people to whatever page they're listing those benefits on, or they might have people seeing those posts, but they're not converting. There is a difference between saying, here's what you get, here's all the features in my great offer, yay for me, and here's the actual end result, right? And we see this time and time again. I forget the phrase, what is it? It's like facts tell, stories sell. Again, this is a foundation that I want you to remember, because when most folks get online, these messages get diluted. They're like, I need the perfect caption. Oh shoot, TikTok is a thing, I gotta go get on TikTok. And we actually pull ourselves out of the focus on the end result, right? So core concept number one, like I mentioned, that's all about selling to the gap. Core concept number two is really focusing on that end result. Now I talked to you about the sales and marketing side. Let's talk about the internal side. Because when you bring on clients, right, and they are learning something new, and again, that could be a business journey, that could be a health journey, that could be a spirituality journey, whatever. When we go in and we do new things, we automatically have some voices that pop up and we think, oh my gosh, can I do this? We get some imposter syndrome. Learning new things can be hard. So now we might have a struggle, right? When you're focused so much on just the process and just getting people through that process, and you lose sight in your conversations with your customers on what are we actually working towards, they get very caught up in, oh my God, I just have to do this today. And I have 18 things on my to-do list. Now I'm lost, right? So when I talk to you about really coming back to that end result, this is on the inside of your programs as well. When you get on your client coaching calls, take a quick minute and say, and this is what we do in our company, right? What is our North Star? What are we moving towards? What is the actual end goal? Let's just bring everybody back together on that, right? It could be this number, revenue leap. It could be this amount of weight loss, whatever. Now let's go back through the process. Sometimes when we get in and we work with clients, we jump in and we're like, okay, on the last call, we talked about this part of the process, and now we're going to talk about this part, and now we're going back, right? And you get in and you're all excited. But remember, your client is learning something brand new. It's like we're learning to ride a bike. So there is that little bit of vulnerability. There is that little bit of level of nerves. And it's very easy for them to get so stuck in that process that they forget why they're doing the process in the first place. So yes, still give them the process, still give them the steps, but don't lose the why behind it. So what can you do to add value, right? Number one, front-end marketing, keep storytelling. It can be your story. It can be client stories. What was the goal that we got to cross off the list, and how did their life change, right? Both of those things really are the end result. And then when you're servicing your clients, keep coming back to that, right? If they have a major milestone, mark it. A month later, come back to it. Hey, funny enough, I know you've been super busy, but I want to remind you that just a month ago, you accomplished X, Y, and Z. You're well on your way to that big goal. Let's dive back in. Right? And for a lot of times, the phrase is like reselling them on that dream, right? Because processes are hard. Starting new things can be hard. Okay. So that's really your focus on the end result. And we can totally get in more deeply into that. Just certainly leave a comment under the video. Let us know. And I want to give you a third and final core concept that I really want you to think about actually for your marketing as you go into 2022. Because like we said, the more value you can add, the more you have a competitive edge, the more you can claim that undisputed number one spot in your market. When you are going out to market, I've already mentioned, sell to the gap, time and time again, focusing on the end result. And you as the CEO, core concept number three, this is going to be your visibility. And again, I want to speak with you a little bit about kind of the external front end of the engine, sales and marketing, and the inside of your home, which is your client service delivery. So you know your gap, your storytelling, you're going out to market, you're focusing on the end result. I want to make sure that you're not like shouting that into the void of the internet. So again, I think many of us have had that experience where you're like, all right, put up that post. Where are they at? Where's all the leads? So this is where visibility strategies are going to be really important. By defining visibility strategies, I mean being a guest expert on podcasts, speaking in other people's groups, getting in front of warm audiences that you know that, I'm going to say it, you can add value for. Value add, right? Getting in front of those audiences. And what are you going to do there? You're going to speak to the gap. You're going to talk about how you've come across this great methodology that sells to that gap and plugs that gap and gets great results. And you're going to take those listeners, those watchers, whatever, you're going to speak to them about the end result. I want to give you a really good example of how we've done this in our company. And again, I'm not using that as a shameless plug. I quite literally want to tell you this story because even to this day, I'm like, there's no way this is real. That was incredible, right? So we, a couple of years ago, really launched the live launch movement, right? Our CEO, Kelly, wrote the book on the live launch. We have been running the live launch workshop for nearly 4 years. 4 years. That is like 400 years in the online space. Let's just call that out, right? 4 years is a long, long time. And when we share that with folks, we're almost met with disbelief. Why is that? Because most of what's out there in the online space is, again, it's trend chasing. It's tactic chasing. It's now we have this new thing, so make sure you add that. Don't get lost. Don't get left behind, right? There's a new thing on the market. Yes. We did exactly the opposite. We ran the same workshop, teaching the same strategies, much of which are actually in this presentation. So you kind of got a sneak peek, right? But we taught so much of that for 4 years straight. Actually, one of the jokes we used to make was we updated the workbook that goes along with those sessions a couple times. I remember Kelly was holding up one of the old versions of the workshop and our attendees actually saw it. All the content was the same. We had updated the cover photo and people were like, what does Kelly have? What's she holding? Right? We quite literally taught the same strategy for that many years. Now, what did that do for us as a company? It took us from completely unknown to number one space in the market. It launched a book. It grew the podcast. It took us over the $10 million mark as a company. There is power in consistency. So let me loop this back to visibility for you, because what I want for you is thought leadership. You will add value for folks by sharing the same consistent message to lead them to have that breakthrough, to lead them to understanding that there's a different way that can work for them, and really in many ways helping them to believe in themselves. So on the front end, it's great for your sales and marketing. Look at me, I'm a featured speaker. Look at this, I have some thought leadership because I've been going to market and sharing this core message, right? I'm pulling people in that want to be a part of that mission and resonate with that message. So it's great for you in terms of building a platform. In terms of sales, people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust. So the more that you're showing up, the more you're sharing that message. And again, I made the joke before, this is the boring business coach. I really just want you to stay consistent. I know that's not shiny or sexy to hear, but it's really, really important. And it will completely change the game for you, right? So visibility and marketing, we're like, yay, this person's a featured speaker. I heard them on this show. I saw them in this place. They must have something for me. Sales, okay, I know, like, and trust this person. I've heard enough. I understand the gap because I've had challenges with that gap myself. They're focused. They're talking about this great end result. That's the end result that I want. And then on the inside, right, it really positions you with your clients. Now, I spoke a little bit about with the end result piece, really people's self-belief and their motivation and keeping them focused on the end goal so that when they're on those steps in that process on their way, they don't get so totally lost. When you show up and you get visible and you add value for these audiences, you really become this like charismatic visionary leader. You become a symbol of what can become possible for people. Now, from the client-facing side, they need that. Right? Everybody needs an example of what can life look like for me. So the more that you get out there, the more that you share that message, you're actually just reinforcing your own value, right? We did this with the live launch method. Kelly did a number, probably, I don't even know, hundreds probably of interviews about the podcast. She spoke at live events about the live launch, right? She wrote a book on the live launch. We did a podcast series on the live launch. And again, we did it for 4 years. And it completely elevated the brand. And let me bring you back to the core concepts. The live launch was successful because it filled a gap. We were able to reach and make a difference for every single entrepreneur who said, automation didn't work for me. I needed a better way. Okay, so that was a huge gap. We filled it. Boom, done. We focused on the end result, which was the revenue leaps. It was the time freedom. It was like the lack of frustration over trying to figure out the automated pieces. That's the end result. And then third and finally, it was visibility. It was getting out to market and sharing more of that message, pulling more of those people into our ecosystem, and then converting them into clients whose lives we knew that we could change, right? Once those clients got in, because they had so many examples, not only from us, but of other clients of filling that gap, of getting to that desired end result, it really will help you with your client retention because they're constantly getting shown, okay, yes, here's another example of someone who's done it. Here's another example of someone who's walking that path and doing it well. There's people for me to learn from. And it creates a cushion, right? It creates a safe space for them to say, okay, yes, I just have to put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other every single time. All right. So let's zoom out again, 50,000 foot view, because why do I share all of this with you? You have in the online space heard the phrase, just add value, go in there and add value, right? But what does it really mean to add value for somebody? What would really make an impact and make a difference for them? Number one, showing them there can be a better way. That's all about speaking and selling to the gap, right? There's a better way. Yes, you can do this. Yes, there's a solution, right? That's number one. That's perking everybody's ears up who thought, is there something wrong with me, right? Why is this thing not working for me? Number two, focusing on the end result, right? Really getting in and telling stories of transformation. Share a case study when you're teaching a concept, right? Show them what that end result can look like. And yes, it's absolutely about checking a box on weight loss, a spiritual journey, revenue growth in a business, like whatever niche you serve. There's definitely that end goal that everybody shares, but also the transformation of how does your life look different when you're able to do that, right? That is the end result. That creates that know, like, and trust. And it sails people into your paid community that you feel good about, are plugged into the mission. They definitely want to create that for themselves. They're fired up. They feel good. They're re-inspired, right? And then we talked about getting visible. The more you get visible, the more you'll add value by speaking about the gap, by speaking about a better way, by telling those stories, right? That's what it really means to add value. And, to put it very bluntly, I always say, listen, in the online space today, people don't really care about the features and benefits. They can look that up on their own. What they're looking for and the value that you're going to give to them is the impact and transformation. You do that with the gap, and you do that by speaking to the end result, right? You're going to attract better leads. You're going to attract more committed people. And when they flip into paying clients in your programs, they're going to be more motivated, right? They're more tied to their mission, which is going to be the internal motivation. And you're going to have these clients for life as well that you're able to keep inspiring. And that, trust me, you will also get inspired by as well. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's a little bit meaty. I really, for you, if you get one takeaway from this session, I really want you to go back and I want you to think about the gap in your industry. Are you speaking in your sales and marketing about how you can plug that gap? How can you add value, right? Again, this is going to lead you to better clients, more committed clients, and you're going to be more excited about working with them. And that's what everybody wants at the end of the day. We always say it's dream client only, right? I want you to be able to secure those dream clients as well. So thank you so much to everybody for joining me. I hope this was helpful. I'm really excited to get in there and just read your feedback. Absolutely drop any questions as well. When I comment on that, absolutely feel free to connect with me. My name is Stephanie Euler. I work over at The Unstoppable Entrepreneur. And stay tuned because you guys have a whole series of amazingness coming up. And what I will tell you, bar none, get back in touch with Susan because she has got everything you need on the inside to make sure your program is set up for success, for high retention, for amazing client results. And every single person here, you're just going to skyrocket up to that number one spot in your industry. So thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks so much.